all of you. We are here to celebrate a life that was very well lived and has left behind a great legacy and lot of lessons for all of us to emulate. And we may not be able to fulfill all those dreams that she cherished and wanted us to carry on within our lifetime. It is an ode to one of the greatest persons that this country has produced and the matriarch of Indian psychiatry. I think we will begin this evening with a musical tribute. May I request Ms. Devi Nethiya? She's the daughter of the renowned musician T.V. Gopalakrishnan and has been a very close friend of our beloved Madam Dr. Sarada Menon, and she enjoyed her music all these years. Please, I think we will also have a bit of that.
Namaste. A small correction to what Dr. Mangala said. I am the foster daughter and disciple of Padma Bhushan Dr. T.V. Gopalakrishnan, and a very distant relative and Shishya, Manasika Shishya of Dr.
सुमधुरं मुक्तिभाजां निवासो भक्तानां कामवर्ष द्वितरुकिसलयं नाधा ते पादमूलं नित्यं चित्तस्थितं मे पवनपुरपते पवनपुरपते कृष्णा कृष्णा कारुण्य सिंधो कृष्णा कारुण्य सिंधो कारुण्य सिंधो हृत्वा निशेषतापान प्रतिशतु परमानंद संदोहलक्ष्मी प्रतिशतु परमानंद संदोहलक्ष्मी परमानंद संदोहलक्ष्मी लक्ष्मी
Thank you, Devi. Just to recollect how much Madam was involved in the well-being of our clients in Bhavishya Bhavan. Recently, during the pandemic, she insisted that Devi should take online classes for children, for some of the patients who were interested in learning music from her, and that happened quite regularly till very recently. That was her passion and dedication to all those people whom she loved and who miss her very much at Bhavishya Bhavan. May I welcome our chairman, Mr. Sesh Sai, to welcome the gathering.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have assembled here to pay a homage to an extraordinary person who led an extraordinary life full of courage, full of determination, a very rare life of love and compassion, an outstanding career of discipline and building institutions. So while each one of us here, who all had the privilege of having been in contact with this very great person who lived amongst us until recently, well, all of us are here to mourn the loss, an irreparable loss. This is also a moment for celebration. Celebration of all the spirits that I mentioned. This is a celebration of the spirit of courage and determination to cut a pioneer's path. It's not very easy to pave the road, prepare the ground for others to follow. A pioneer's life is pretty much more tortuous than the others. And yet, it takes a great deal of passion and determination to make that happen. So we all know the pioneering work that Dr. Sarada Menon did in destigmatizing mental illness and to get the society to look at mental illness in a very, very different kind of prism. It is that spirit of courage and determination that we are celebrating today. We are also celebrating the fact that she built an institution. Many people have passion. Many people have passion relating to their interest in life, maybe sports or music or art or whatever. But there are very few people who convert that passion into building an institution, to institutionalize their passion, institutionalize their concern for the society. And she was one such pioneer who made that happen, to build an institution. And there are also many people who build institutions addressing a particular need of the society, but very often the person who builds this institution becomes the core of that institution. And when that person passes on, the core of the institution tends to collapse, the institution collapses. Dr. Sarada Menon was very different. She put the interest of the institution ahead of us. In the 10 or 12 years that I've been very closely associated with the SCARF, there have been very few occasions when I've seen her come and take a very intrusive kind of a role in the organization of SCARF. She built a team, an extraordinary leadership team, that is taking forward the institution without missing a beat. And that is only because she knew how to build an institution that will last beyond her life. That didn't quite mean that she was disassociated. In fact, just a few months ago, she wrote me a very long letter and getting a promise from me that we will never change the name of SCARF, that our focus will continue to be in schizophrenia. So she was very involved at one stage, but she was also detached from a self point of view at another level. And that is an extraordinary trait that we are celebrating today. We are also celebrating the fact that she was a humanist, someone who cared and loved people, someone who could become a part of a family that she was attached to. Every patient who came to her knew that she shared the pain of the patient, the pain of the family, and it wasn't therefore to her a patient. It was a part of her family, an extended family, and it was her duty therefore to share the pain and find redressal for that. And it is that spirit of, rare spirit of compassion and love that we are celebrating. Before I conclude, I have one request to make. We have a very long line of speakers today, and I'm sure that all of you want to share your reminiscences, which must take a long time. And yet, in the interest of time and to make sure that we don't have a very extended evening in the context of COVID, I would make a humble request to each one of you to restrict your tribute to no more than 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you very much for finding time to come here again and pay your tributes to this extraordinary person that we all had the privilege of being associated with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now request Dr. Tara, Vice Chair SCARF, to make a presentation about Madam.
Good evening, and a very personal thanks to all of you. Some of you have been nagging like for the last few days saying, please do come. So thanks again. I'm just giving an overview of her life, which most of you know, but some of you, especially the younger ones who are sitting on that hall, may not know. This is Shri Gopal Krishna Gandhi, who, as you know, is the grandson of both Rajaji and Mahatma Gandhi. Sent me this message, which I thought was beautiful, especially the one which says, a beautiful flower that has now left its everlasting fragrance. This is a place, Madam's house, where she was born in Palakkad in Kerala. These were her parents, Mr. K.S. Menon and Narayani Menon. Mr. K.S. Menon was a judge, a very distinguished person, and therefore Madam used to tell me because of that he kept getting transferred from place to place, and therefore she could not really continue her education in one particular place. This is Professor M.G.K. Menon, who was extremely close to her. For those of you who do not know Professor Menon, he was a highly reputed scientist, physicist, and he was even scientific advisor to the Prime Minister of India for a short while. And they were very, very close. And he is something, I mean, if you meet him, everybody will start really adoring him. This is Mr. Shri Kumar Menon, her husband, who was DGP. In SCAF, we call him a jolly good fellow, because unlike Madam, he was so full of fun and mirth. He would make jokes and he would really lighten up the atmosphere. And of course, he died a few years ago rather suddenly, and she was always very upset that she could not help him out in the last moments of his life. This is what she had instituted in the name of Mr. Shri Kumar Menon. Of course, this is a physician. Many of you might know that she actually completed her MD in general medicine in Madras Medical College. That's why she always used to talk about a holistic treatment of the patient, because she said you have to look at the physical aspects of persons with mental disorders. And so this was in the General Hospital, internal medicine. Then she went on to, she kind of rebelled. The family did not want her to take up psychiatry. It was not a woman's world at that point in time, but she did insist that she would take up mental health. And NIMHANS was the only institute offering DPM at that point in time. So she had joined DPM and graduated in 1959. Then after she came back, she joined the Institute of Mental Health, which was formerly called the Keelport Mental Hospital. Initially, she was not the superintendent, but after 2 years, she was elevated to the role of superintendent. And this is where the era of modernity, ushering in modernity happened. And I will go on to say many, many more things. Most of you are very familiar. I have myself written a lot in the last 2 weeks about all that she has done. She had huge press. I think, oh my God, Madam would have loved this, because she really, had extremely good coverage. So this is a woman with many missions. The inauguration of the new wards, the outpatient block. There was no real outpatient block at that time. And then she, of course, started the occupational therapy, the industrial therapy center. Some of the stalwarts of IMH are here. Of course, they know about it. So these were some of, she's done many, many things, but just to summarize, these were some of the things that she did, starting the vocational training center. And what was also good was her work was not confined to the Institute of Mental Health. She went on to lobby with the state government of Tamil Nadu and started psychiatry departments in district hospitals. This, I must tell you that she actually used to serve the patients, and I have heard that once when the cooks went on strike, she took the currandi herself, gathered some men and women around her and actually cooked the food and started serving them. That was a kind of commitment she had to patient welfare. Then after she retired, unfortunately she had to retire at the age of 1955, at the age of 55 due to government rules at that point in time. She felt that her work needed to continue. And that was then when we actually started SCARF. And what really helped us was the reputation she had. So people did not understand schizophrenia. They have told us, what is schizophrenia? I can't even pronounce it. So, but despite that, because it was Sarada Menon's reputation, they contributed in many, many ways. This was our first inauguration, 1985. Then this was the inauguration of our first residential center in Bhavishya Bhavan, Tirverkadu, 1991. Then all our other centers, the Kanchi Swamiji gave us some land in Mahabalipuram, and the previous the late Chief Minister Jayalalitha was extremely fond of her and had great regard and respect, and gave us a land on which our present Anna Nagar Center is located. So we named one of our centers after her, Sarada Menon Center, inaugurated in 2003. And because of her passion for psychosocial rehab, the World Association of Psychosocial Rehab gave her a very high position, the President and then Secretary General, and she attended these meetings. Then, of course, all of you know Padma Bhushan, the first psychiatrist ever to get Padma Bhushan in India, 1992. DSC from Medical University. On SCARF's 20th anniversary, Dr. Abdul Kalam was one of those who had the highest regard for her. And this was when he came for our 20th anniversary. And again, the Helpage India Award from the former president. And then the last award, big award she got, was the Aware Award from the Chief Minister. But I must tell you that all these awards, she wore them very, very lightly. And because she would always say, Tara, the award is not for me, it is for the cause of mental health. So, I mean, that was what was really unique about her. And then we instituted the Sarada Menon oration, and these were all the people who have delivered the oration over the past few years. And of course, she took a very active part in all these orations. Sorry. So this is something that I personally am very happy and proud about. Last year, along with all my colleagues in SCARF, we compiled this book which chronicled 35 years of SCARF and dedicated it to Madam. And indeed, she was so happy about it. I knew I was fighting against time. I had to set a time deadline. But there it happened, and she was very, very happy about it. Let me also tell you that it was not all work and no play. She was a very fun-loving person. She loved food. I understand she was a very good cook herself, and she was very fond of watching movies. In fact, when she retired, she took us to a movie called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Some 20 of us went over there. So this is what she has said. I'm not reading it, but you can all read it. She was still not totally happy that she had indeed achieved what she wanted to. So that is it. That is in brief. We can go on and on, but that is in brief Dr. Sarada Menon. Just 2 weeks ago, Dr. Mangala and I were discussing that next April 5th, she would have entered her 100th year. And we were saying, let's celebrate that. But unfortunately, it was not to be, and now we are here talking about her. And I definitely know that on my next birthday, I will miss the 8 o'clock sharp 8 a.m. call to give me her blessings and wishes. So I just want to assure all of you here that we at SCARF will certainly take her, whatever she wanted to do, we'll carry it forwards. Thank you again to all of you for coming here.
Thank you, Madam. I think Dr. Sarada Menon's life and her anecdotes, they never cease to inspire us, though we have heard some of these instances very often. It is more like folklore in SCARF that we hear so many stories. And just to add one story of my own, just a few years back, maybe 3 years back, before the pandemic, Madam wanted to visit Bhavishya Bhavan for the Women's Day celebration there. And we invited her to judge the cookery contest that the inmates had prepared. And she was so meticulous. She tasted every one of them, and I could get an idea of how she would have been as an examiner in a psychiatric examination. She asked every one of them whether they had cooked it themselves, the ingredients, the proportions, before she could finally mark it, and she thoroughly enjoyed every one of the dishes there, making all the patients feel extremely happy. We will miss her then the next Women's Day that we will be celebrating in March. So now today's event is going to be a mixture of videos and live speakers. So we will start the event with a set of videos. The first one will be from the Chief Scientist at WHO, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, and that will be followed by 2 videos by Dr. Rajkumar and Mrs. Garyali Rajkumar, co-founders of SCARF. Dr. Rajkumar has been a professor of psychiatry at the Madras Medical College, a co-founder of SCARF, and now he lives in Australia. And Mrs. Garyali is still a board member of SCARF. She's a retired IAS officer. So may we have the videos, please?
Dr. Sarada Menon, one of the most inspiring people that you could ever meet, apart from having been a pioneer in being one of the first women doctors from South India, and then being one of the first psychiatrists, and then really having changed the face of the Institute of Mental Health in Kilpok, and then having gone on to set up an NGO, SCARF, which has done such good service, especially with community-based rehabilitation of patients with schizophrenia and other types of severe mental health illnesses. She definitely leaves behind a big void, but at the same time she leaves behind a huge legacy and has set a path which will hopefully continue to expand and strengthen and flourish in the service of people with mental health illnesses. Just about 2 months ago, I spoke with her. I couldn't go in person to see her because of the pandemic, but I spoke to her on Zoom, absolutely up to date with technology. In fact, she suggested we have a Zoom call. And then when we spoke, she had a lot of suggestions and advice for me, for WHO, on the areas of focus. And again, she highlighted that what is really needed in mental health protocols and guidelines is the whole concept of community-based rehabilitation, integration back into families and society, which is often a neglected area and one of the most challenging areas. And I was so impressed with her clarity of thought, her passion still continuing at this age, for her chosen field, and her warmth, which came across, even across a digital platform. So while we are obviously very, very sad, to lose her, and she was somebody who was contributing till the last day of her life. And I think we should celebrate her life, her accomplishments, and aspire to be like her. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
I'm a very close associate of SCARF and our dear teacher and friend, philosopher and guide, Dr. M. Sarada Menon. My association with Madam started in 1965 as a third-year medical student. It was the first time we had a clinical posting, and this introductory 1-month posting was in the psychiatric outpatient, a very busy one in General Hospital, Madras. Madam used to come from the Institute of Mental Health and see the patients here and guide us. So that's how it started, and I realized that my interest in pursuing psychiatry as a subspecialty or specialty started in 1965 when I saw her conducting interviews and managing people with such equanimity, poise and empathy that it was very inspiring to see how she guided people and became a role model for the staff as well as for the patients and for the families. I started as a tutor, a lecturer, a reader, and then of course associate professor and professor. So let me go to 1978 when, at the peak of her career, she had to retire because the rules of the government were such that retirement age was changed from 58 to 55 and she had to leave. So it is at this strange, odd situation that it was a kind of kairos moment wherein a lot of things were happening. It was 1978, we had some projects with ICMR, and then we had a lot of research staff who were doing excellently well. Tara, Padma, Shanta, Radha Shankar, T.N. Srinivasan, Lata Srinivasan. There were so many beautiful people, and we did not know how to absorb them in the public service. And then we thought we should start an NGO, and then that was the Schizophrenia Research Foundation. It meant we had to look for funds. So I went with Dr. Sarada and several others to Kerala, to Calicut in Kerala, to Kollam, and several places. And then I used to go to Lucknow, I used to go to Mumbai, New Delhi, and then we got the Science and Technology and the Finance Department's approval to have it as a Schizophrenia Research Foundation. And I want to share this with you because she will always guide us wherever she is, in all the things we do, because that is her nobility, that is her the highest level of functioning.
I met Dr. Sarada Menon in 1974 at my wedding to Dr. Rajkumar in Madras. She was my husband's teacher, but also more like a mother. From that point, she became my mother also. As a pioneer woman psychiatrist of India, she fascinated me. She was a great source of inspiration. I was fascinated with her life and her work as the first superintendent of Institute of Mental Health. Rather than it was called Mental Hospital. It was she who got the name changed to Institute of Mental Health. As an administrator, I was also very fond of Sri Kumar Menon, her husband, DGP of police, a very committed and honest police officer who was a great source of strength to Dr. Sarada Menon. In 1978, when Dr. Sarada Menon was retiring, we could not visualize her not anymore leading the mental health movement in the country. And we all rallied around her and SCARF was born. And it's a matter of great pride that she served for another 4 decades the cause of mental health and led the mental health movement in India. For me, it has been a most pleasant journey to serve SCARF as a founder member since the inception under her very inspiring presence. Today, SCARF is an institute to reckon with nationally and internationally. She not only gave us SCARF, but she also gave us a committed band of professionals like Dr. Tara, Dr. Padma, Dr. Shanta and others, and also those who are serving SCARF from outside India like Dr. Rajkumar, T.N. Srinivasan and Lata. All I want to say at the end, Madam, good work of SCARF will continue. We'll always remember you and we'll always love you.
It is not just psychiatrists who have been associated with Madam. She was always a people's person and she has touched the lives of so many people across specialities, and I think you will see from the people who have lined up today for talking about her, people from different walks of life, people who have associated with her for so many years and have great memories about her. So in the first set of live speakers, I would like to invite Mr. N. Ram, the director of the Hindu group. I don't think he needs any introduction. So happy to have you here.
I think we are celebrating a great life, somebody who was very clear when she chose the hard road of responding to the challenge of mental illness. We know a good deal about what motivated her, and in an interview given to a Kerala publication, she described quite vividly how she came to this field, Dr. Sarada Menon, that as a final year MBBS student, when she attended a class on mental diseases at the government mental hospital, she saw 10 to 15 people who were in terrible shape and nothing much could be done to them. And later on, she saw a 16-year-old girl in a general ward who was crying, and nothing could be done. They just had to discharge her. And she was very clear that this is what she wanted to do, to respond to this huge challenge of mentally ill people belonging to various walks of life, but particularly those who are vulnerable, and especially women who needed to be helped. And what a heroic thing it was to be the first in this field, taking on a huge challenge with very little support early on, very little sensitivity to these issues. And I think you can truly say, without exaggeration, that Dr. Sarada Menon's long life and tremendous work made a significant difference. And it is a tribute to her honesty that she was not at all satisfied with what she, along with others, had achieved over the truly long term. I think the situation that she described in those years, of course, things have changed. There are many more professionals in the field who are dedicated, who are working hard, who are also healers in the best tradition, not just medical specialists, but people who give care, humaneness, go out of their way to empathize with patients. And I know there are people here, Dr. Tara, for example, who's very much part of that tradition. But having said that, I think although in India we have achieved a great deal of advance in various fields of medicine, mental health is an area where we cannot be proud of what we have achieved. And this is the message that Dr. Sarada Menon left. We know that she faced much opposition from her family, from her friends, from everyone who advised her. She's gone on record on this, but she took it on, almost single-handed, alone at the start. And over the years, I think she built institutions, SCARF among them. She tried to do something to improve the situation in what is now known as the Institute of Mental Health. I think things are far from satisfactory when you look at the so-called mental hospitals or institutions dealing with mental health in our country. Maybe some improvements here or there, but on the whole, the goal of Sarada Menon, Dr. Sarada Menon, that they must be enabled to help to lead as normal a life as possible, is still a long way off from coming true. At a personal level, I'm happy to say that she was my mother's schoolmate. They were good friends. My mother was a couple of months younger than Dr. Sarada Menon, but they remained friends for over many decades. And we do have that personal association. So I'm very proud to have a little connection with somebody whose lives touch such a large number of people, and whose work needs to be built upon. And that's the message that everyone should take from here. It simply won't do to remain complacent, to turn the other eye to what is happening on this. And mental health is a huge problem in India that needs much better attention than it has got so far. I think that will be the best tribute to Dr. Sarada Menon, to try to bring about step by step significant improvements in infrastructure, in training, in attitudes in particular, and values. And I think Tamil Nadu and Chennai have some advantages compared with many other states. Kerala also has that advantage. The South on the whole has that advantage. But I think we need to do much better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think it's amazing to know that she maintained contact with school friends. I think even now, with all the social media, we still have difficulties in maintaining contact with friends of school and college days. I think she, and another video that you will see in some time, will talk about her ability to nurture friendships and keep the bond over the years. That is another great quality that we should all try to emulate. May I now request Mr. Rajiv Menon to please come forward and talk about his experiences of knowing Auntie Sarada. I think that is what he says.
I'm not speaking as a filmmaker, but more as a relation, and I know there are many eminent speakers here. But Sarada Menon was a legend in our family, and as you all know, we all looked up to her. It was around 1988 that there was an unfortunate, untimely suicide of one of our friends, and I was greatly grieving about it. And so I went to meet Dr. Sarada Menon, and she asked me some leading questions as to, are you sleeping well? Are you hearing voices and things like that? So at the end of it, she said that, there is a difference between grief and mental illness. The other day, and she has always a bit of humor in her conversation. So she said that the other day I was serving food and I put rice and poured sambar, but it fell on my sari. Does this mean that I'm ill? Well, it just means I'm preoccupied. But the problem you have seen is pretty acute, and a lot of young people are finding, not getting treatment, and there's a lot of misinformation. And she wanted to kill two birds in one go. So she said, you're from the film industry, you should do something for us. So make us a documentary on schizophrenia. So I went about trying to understand how to write this film. So I ended up spending a lot of time in SCARF, meeting psychiatrists, and getting to see their practice. And all the young psychiatrists who are now like me, middle-aged, were all working in SCARF at that time. But what was amazing to see is the achievement that she has, and also the kind of institution she left behind. Chennai in some ways is unique, because while we have had great private sector practice and a lot of corporate hospitals, but we have also seen some incredible public institutions like Shankar Nethralaya, Adyar Cancer Hospital, and this institution is world-class research facility. Human beings are mortal, but great teachers leave behind a kind of legacy which would continue in creating a great institution. And in SCARF, research, rehabilitation, and continued work in the area that she was so passionate about continues. And I'm sure years from now, if Madras remains in the forefront of mental health study and care, it's largely due to the effort of one trailblazing woman and the great institution she has left behind, and all the wonderful people she has touched upon who are going to carry the torch forward. May her soul and her ideals continue to live and feel the test of time. And may Sarada Menon's legacy continue in these great doctors who she has touched and mentored. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv. And I think we must thank Madam for bringing Rajiv into SCARF, and we should thank Rajiv Menon here for all the support that he has been giving SCARF over the years. Thank you very much. And I think we will now have a talk by one of the nephews of Madam, Mr. Hari Bhaskar, IAS. I think we will need a hand mic to be taken to him. So we would like to hear from you your experience of living with that legendary lady in the house.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is very difficult for me to tell you all about Dr. Sarada Menon. She happens to be my aunt, my mother's sister. And the first time I knew her was in 1940. 1940 was when I was a 4 or 5 year old boy. And I had just come back from Rangoon, where my father was practicing. And she was in Chennai with the father, who was the judge of the Madras High Court. When I met her, from the first itself, I fell in love with her, I think. She was so nice to me, so much of this affection, that I felt that I didn't want to go back to Rangoon at all. And in fact, my mother forced me to go back along with her. That was the first time when I met her. But ever since 1940, I have somehow been obsessed with her. She was such a nice person, caring person, a person who cared for others, for their feelings. And even now I remember that when patients were there, she would sit and discuss with them their problems, their even not connected with the mental thing, but other problems. And she was the happiest person if she can give something for them, some care for them, some relief for them. And she would be very, very happy for that. She was not only like that for her patients, but also as the family is concerned. She was the fulcrum over which all of us, there were many children, many grandchildren, many great-grandchildren all over the world, from United States, even some they were in other continents, various other continents, but she remembered all of them. She remembered their birthdays, and she would ring, for example, she would ring me up and tell me that this is the birthday of so-and-so, please wish. And she would order that, and we had to see that they are called up and wished, so that the family bond was very much looked after. And she was there to see that it continues and that it doesn't in any way crumble. And every one of us knew where our distant cousins were there, whether it is Arctic Ocean or Antarctic continent. To that extent, she was very, and she remembered everyone's birthday. And I don't know how she did that. Even I was not able to do that. None of us were able to do that. So apart from that, she was a very, very caring person. She cared so much that she would call me up, for example, even as recently as a few months ago, she rang me up and she said, have you taken your pranayama in the morning? Have you taken your walk? Have you done this? Have you done that? See, she was such a caring person. And that sort of, I've never seen in anyone. That's why I would like to quote to you the Bard of Avon's. I have parodied it. It said, I quote, her life was gentle and the elements so mixed in her that nature might stand up and say that this was God's own creature. To that extent, she was, one of the rarest, I would say, the rarest of human beings who did not bother about herself, but she was bothered about others. And that is why I always felt that she was a person which was, I don't know, maybe may have born in our family, but totally different. And right from the beginning, when she chose psychiatry as a mission in life, what she wanted was to care for those who were not cared for, to see that their illness or their difficulties were somehow remedied. One great thing about her was rehabilitation of the people who got cured. And she set up Bhavishya Bhavan and other places to see that it is done. I remember two or three things. When I went as collector of 2 or 3 districts, she would see that I got permission for putting up psychiatric wards in the general hospitals, Salem, Trichy, etc. And once she issued an order, I used to take there was no other go. I had to do it. So we used to move the government and get the orders for that. At that time, I'm talking about 1960s. At that time, there was no psychiatric wards in general hospitals and all that. So that is how it was. She cared for everyone. And it's something which amazing that such a person could do that. I am reminded of Dr. Mr. Shesai had said that I should not speak much, but limit myself. But I want to tell you one thing, that she had been my obsession. She had been my listening, but she has always been my magnificent obsession, my most magnificent obsession. And I am quite sure that this will be the thing, the feeling of not only me, but of many others also. All the best. I wish that God may see that her life is not only celebrated, but also she will get all the peace and blessings of the Lord, and she will come back to us in some form or other. I think I've become a little more emotional now, so I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Remember that Madam was first a physician, and I would now like to invite Dr. Mohan, the chairman and chief of diabetology at Dr. Mohan Diabetes Specialties Hospital, to talk about his experience of knowing Madam.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank Dr. Tara for remembering me and asking me to be here. I've been here for about an hour listening to different people from different facets of life. Some, of course, associated with her professionally, others as friends, others as family. And what I'm hearing again and again is the love that she has given to each and every one of us. My association with Madam was through my father, Dr. Vishwanathan, who was the same age as her. They were colleagues. And also, she was a very close friend of my teacher, Professor Sam G.P. Moses. So she used to visit our home. The other thing that I share with her is that my mother and her name are the same. My mother's name is Sarada. So I have one more connection with her. She has known 3 generations of our family. She knew my father, she knew me, and she knows my daughter and son-in-law. So she has moved very closely with all 3 generations with the same affection and love. It's not that one generation she treats differently from the other. Much has been said by Ms. Haribas and others about how she remembers her birthday and so everyone's birthday. I used to be terribly embarrassed when on 10th April, actually 5th April is hers, but I would never remember that and I would have forgotten it. And then 5 days later, she'll promptly call me to wish me. Then I'll think, hell, I forgot again, to wish her. But she'll never forget. Now, the other thing that she used to do was whenever she hears something good happening to someone, she'll write letters. And something which nobody has spoken about so far is her handwriting. I have every letter written by her, and I have a whole pile of them. I have not lost them, I have preserved them. I have a separate file called as special letters. Throughout my life, people have written special letters to me, I have saved them. And every one of Madam's letters I have saved through the years. I'm not going to write what she wrote in praise of me, but I will read a few lines from these of what she has given as general advice. So youngsters who are here, young psychiatrists who are here. So let me read a couple of lines from this. She wrote so beautifully. Not only her handwriting was so good, her English was so good. It was impeccable. You really could not make a single mistake in anything that she wrote or she said. So here is one letter which said, "Dear Mohan, going beyond the call of duty, doing more than what others expect, that is what excellence is all about. And it comes from striving hard, maintaining the highest standards, looking after the smallest detail, and going the extra mile. Excellence means doing your very best in everything, in every way, every day." Such beautiful words. I don't think, how can you ever get rid of this letter? You can't. It'll be there till my last breath. Another letter she writes, Mohan dear, some see things as they are and ask why. I dream things that never were and say why not. So you can see that in everything in life, she has a different approach. She has a different way of looking at things. And that's what makes Dr. Sarada Menon so special. I know that she was very close to my family. My father and mother used to respect her a lot. Several other members in the family also have been very close to her. And she maintained that relationship. And one of the letters she talks about my father and her close association that she had with him. But I think more than everything else, of course, a professional contribution so many people have talked about. It's one thing to tread a path which is already there, and that itself many people are not able to do. Somebody has given a nice path for you, and to follow along that path and to fill somebody's shoes itself is difficult. When there's no path at all, to create a path and to look ahead, that's what a visionary does. And that's exactly what Dr. Sarada Menon did. Being a lady, taking up a subject like psychiatry, mental health at a time when nothing about this was known, and to lead the field and to show the path to others needs extraordinary commitment, extraordinary focus, and extraordinary passion, extraordinary empathy. And I think she had all of these in plenty. Let us salute her spirit. What she would have loved best, she was very down to earth. I don't think she would have expected any of us to sit here and cry now, because she's a very practical person. What she would have loved to see is that the institution that she built grows from strength to strength. We have Dr. Tara and many other leaders here, the youngsters who are going to carry the torch forward. That, I think, will give her the greatest satisfaction. I truly believe, having lost many close people, including my wife, that people don't disappear forever. They're always there. My spiritual experiences tell me that they always keep connected to us. And I'm sure Madam will be here today, listening from there, from her picture or wherever she is, listening to all that's being said about her. And I'm sure she'll continue to bless us now and forever. May her soul rest in peace, and may her work and her legacy continue now and forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, I think those letters that she writes are something that all of us cherish. And at SCARF, some of us who have been lucky to have received a handwritten note from her, consider it one of the biggest awards that we have received. A letter which will have no corrections, very neat, legible, straight lines in perfect language and perfect writing, something that it's very difficult for us to throw away. All of us have one of those letters with us, which we keep reading every now and then to inspire us. We will now have the second set of videos, and we have messages from Dr. Sarachino, the Director of the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse of the WHO. And the next one will be by Dr. Helen Herman, Professor of Psychiatry, University of Melbourne, Australia, and she is the only second president of the WPA. And Shanti Ranganathan, the founder of the TT Ranganathan Clinical Research Foundation of TTK Hospital, and Dr. Padmavati, the director of SCARF, who unfortunately could not be with us here as she's out of the country. Yeah, we can have the videos, please.
Hi, Dr. Tara. This is a message from Benedetto Saraceno in honor of Dr. Sarada Menon, a great woman, an outstanding psychiatrist, a brave advocate, an inspiring teacher, and a mother for many of us like me. Goodbye, Dr. Sarada Menon.
Hello, this is Helen Herman speaking to you from Melbourne in Australia. Thank you for the invitation from Dr. Tara to join you in celebrating Dr. Sarada Menon's life and achievements. I send my condolences to all of you on her loss. I'm aware of her extraordinary contribution to psychiatry and mental health and the life of women as well as men in India, and the great influence she had on so many of you as friend and colleague and mentor. I had the pleasure and privilege to meet Dr. Menon on several occasions, particularly during the Icons of Scarf meetings convened by Dr. Tara and Dr. Padma and colleagues. The first of these was almost 20 years ago in 2004. So I was impressed at the time by her great humanity and span of interest and achievement. I'm aware she was the teacher and mentor and source of inspiration for the people who are in turn my heroes and inspiration in psychiatry in Tamil Nadu in India, Drs. Tara and Padma and Dr. Lakshmi Vijayakumar. All of you have added so much to psychiatry and mental health in the world, as well as India, not least through the organisation SCARF, co-founded by Dr. Menon and Tara, and Sneha, that I'm sure Lakshmi would acknowledge was also guided in spirit by Dr. Menon. So once more I share my condolences with you and wish that Dr. Menon rests in peace. Thank you.
My condolence to the family members, trustees and staff of SCARF on the demise of our dear Dr. Sarada Menon. My association with this great lady goes back to 4 decades. In 1980, when I wanted to start a treatment center for addiction, I was asked to meet Dr. Sarada Menon to get her guidance. I was a young girl with no experience, and she was a leading psychiatric with a busy schedule. She met me at Hotel Ashoka, listened patiently, encouraged me, and provided me clear guidance on how to go about starting and running a center. She persuaded Dr. Raymal Cherian, our first professional, and Dr. Devar, our first psychiatrist, to join the center. Dr. Cherian worked till her retirement and Dr. Devar till the time he passed away. Dr. Sarada Menon headed our research wing on an honorary basis. She helped us in all aspects, choosing the topics, identifying research tools to be used, and going through the content of the papers. Above all, she inculcated in us the practice of meticulous record keeping from the very inception of the institution. She had special affection for me and was always ready to help me in my endeavors. Many a time I have disturbed her even late in the evening, and she was always willing to help, showing a great deal of patience and understanding. I feel privileged that I have got this opportunity to say a few words in her memory. A mentor is one who helps another to walk the path she has already taken. She was truly my mentor. Thank you.
It's with a very heavy heart that I have to say these few words about Madam. Our Madam is no more, but she lives on in our lives. There are so many people who would have had very close personal experiences with Madam. Like them, I'm one such. With many years of association and closer association over the last few years, Madam has really been an enormous source of support. Every meeting that I've had with her has been a huge learning lesson. She might be saying the same things again and again, but every time there was something new, some new aspect, some new story, some new angle to a story that we would be listening to. If I had not spoken to her for, say, a period of 2 months or so, I could be pretty sure I'm going to get a call from her asking her, "Why didn't you come, Padma? You should have come and seen me. You haven't even called me. You didn't send me this, you didn't give me this," and so on. So I would make sure that I established, I sent her an email regularly, and I would also, call on her frequently, knowing very much that, yes, I am, going to learn something new. In fact, the last meeting that I had with her, she had to tell me a lot of, besides what I had not done, she had also acknowledged what I had done. And I think the greatness of Madam is the fact that she remembered everything. Not just of family, not just of patients, but also commitments that I had made in the previous meeting. And so I was really making sure that I was taking down notes when I would meet with her. Madam is no more. There'll be no more calls. There'll be no more commands. But I think we all will learn to carry forward her legacy, to learn from a very well-lived life.
What Dr. Padma said is very true. We can have a lot of ideas when we discuss with Madam, but her one question that will make us take a step back will be, finally, what will this do to the patient? Or what are you doing for the patient? That is her only question, and it's only if we can answer that, we can move forward with whatever we suggest. Moving on to the next set of speakers, I have great pleasure in inviting Professor O. Somasundaram. He is the former, can you please give the hand mic? The former superintendent of the Institute of Mental Health.
Menon. I first saw her, I talked to her 1951, June 30. I said, I am going to join Dr. Masaramani's unit as a postgraduate student in medicine. She was a paid assistant to Dr. Ratnavali Subramaniam, professor of medicine, the most famous physician at that time. I think I met her along with my friend Dr. Subramaniam, I think who is very outgoing. I think I am very timid and shy. I think we met her at as the warden of the MMC girls hostel and she was very particular, she was very tactful, she didn't allow us inside. I think she talked at the gate and then dismissed us. I think I was very fortunate in having her service later on. And then another thing, she is a leader. I think there is no doubt about that she is a leader, but unusual leader, because she will listen to many of her subordinates, and she is extremely clever in picking her assistants. I think, and she treated them very well. I think especially Dr. Parthasarathy, Dr. Subramaniam, Dr. K.S. Bhushanam. She was treated as her elder brother. I think, and she treated me as her younger brother, and my friend Dr. Peter Fernandez and other people. And about choosing people for subjects, I think she would say, I think you do this, you do child psychiatry, child's mental retardation, and other things. Then she will tell Dr. Bhushanam, Dr. Vaidyalinga, you do epilepsy and organic mental disorders. Then you will tell Dr. Ramachandran, you do this, that is anxiety disorders. And Dr. Geeta Menon, you do your psychology. I think she not only asked her to do her psychology, she also selected her husband for her. I think she is very good in helping people. And about starting the course in the medical college, it was very difficult in those days. I think, but her personal capacity, I think it's friendship, and her honesty and humility attracted all the people. I think Dr. Venugopal, Dr. Natarajan, and Dr. Shanmugam, all the people. Two of them are medical, but Dr. Dr. Shanmugam is a psychologist and attached to the university. And she managed to revive the MD psychiatry and DPM in medicine and carried on. I think she was not very particular about holding jobs. I think even though she was interested in the affairs of the Indian Psychiatric Society, she didn't take any part. The reason is very simple. I think she will send most of her students and her friends as president of the Indian Psychiatric Society. I think I am glad to say at Chennai, we have the maximum number of presidents of the Indian Psychiatric Society, all sent by Dr. Sarada Menon. They were just backdriving. I think she was so good in those days, and she used to attend the psychiatric conferences also. I remember very well the Calcutta conference we attended. Dr. Murthy Rao was there. When we returned, I think it was only a servant's cabin was available. Therefore, Sarada Menon, I, Dr. Ramachandra Rao, and so many people, I think, travelled in the servant's cabin and reached Madras. I think she used to be, and especially for her days. I think you must remember the colonial days and it becoming a national and thing. I think slightly she changed all those things. I think previously it was lock up in the mental hospital, and since it was changed to census, and there was Indian and Europeans. Most of the time the Europeans were only Anglo-Indians, and they must be listed separately. She's in her regime. I think all the Indians became mental patients, and there is no difference between the white and the black. Then about the other things, she introduced some of the important festivals of Tamil Nadu. I think she was very particular. I think that Ayudha Puja must be celebrated in the hospital, and she gave it to Dr. Bhushanam, a very religious person. And then she paid a lot of interest to the Pongal festival, and it came to me. And for sports, I think she will ask Dr. Ramdas. He was Mr. Madras of those days, and therefore he will look after the sports day. And Industrial Therapy Center, ITC. ITC, I think Industrial Therapy Center, that is probably the first time worked in a mental hospital of those days. And he picked Dr. Peter, you be the chief of the section, and he did it. But Peter, you will drive the car at such a speed. We have to put up a speed limit of 5 miles per hour at the gate. But anyhow, we fixed up. I told Dr. Sarada Menon, you fix up at the gate this speed breaker, not speed breaker, this caution. But as usual, Peter didn't see any of them. He was driving at his usual speed, and he did a good job. Then another thing about her, about our decentralization. I think she was very particular that there should be a center in Kilpack Medical College, and the center at the Stanley Medical College must be upgraded, and she fixed up a physician separately for them. And for the child psychiatry, I think she established child psychiatry in all the teaching colleges, and probably we were doing much more work at child guidance clinic at mental hospital than at the Institute of Child Health. Institute of Child Health, she was very particular, people must be deputed and work there. And therefore, this decentralization of psychiatry was very prominent in her days. Personally, I think I can talk too much, and I should not bore you with these things. But one thing, I think she was very fond of me. I don't know why. I think she was married in January 1971. I was operated for my fractured femur 15th February 1971. I think Dr. Sarada Menon, after her marriage, returns to General Hospital on 15th February 1971. And the first patient, I think not a maternal patient, I suppose, she came and saw me. because I was coming out of anesthesia and Dr. Natarajan did the operation. My wife was by my side, my dentures were not there, therefore I told her, will you please give the dentures, I must talk to Dr. Sarada Menon. I think Sarada Menon is the first person whom I recognized after coming out of anesthesia. And she has done so many wonderful things, I think especially library. I think if you tell this book is good, she will say go and buy the book and make the payment. And teaching, and although there is no need to tell how she taught the people, and all of them will be remembering. Especially our subordinates, our clerical staff, she was very fond of them. And they were very loyal to her. I think that was our passion for the patients and for the simple folk attracted so many people to our care. I think, and therefore it is rather difficult for me to talk about her. I think she will come to my house, all the people will disappear. Sarada Menon has come, therefore they won't be there. But Sarada Menon won't leave so easily. Oh, bring your first son, you bring your daughter, bring your other son, bring your daughter-in-law, and she will have a word for each one of them. And therefore I cannot stop here, but I will go on. And Sarada Menon is a Saritram, it is a epic, and that will go on and live forever. Thank you very much.
So I think your phenomenal memory is probably one of the reasons why Madam adored you and was so close to you. So thank you so much for sharing some beautiful memories about Madam. A report from a student of hers, Dr. Lakshmi Vijay Kumar. I don't think she needs an introduction. Founder, Director Sneha.
Thank you, Dr. Tara and SCA, for giving me this opportunity to pay a tribute to a person. For many of us who are assembled here, there can be only one madam, and that is Dr. Sarada Menon. She embodied the term science with humanity, as many of you have said. And as the chairman, Mr. Seshasai, said, she paved the way for many of us. If Tamil Nadu is known for its NGOs in mental health like SCARF, Sneha, Chellamatutras, and Banyan, because she set the path. She knew that it was possible. She once told me, once wrong back when I started Sneha, when I said, everybody, madam, is dissuading me, saying that you cannot run an organization with volunteers and prevent suicide. She said, one of my favorite quotes of Mahatma Gandhi is, what seems impossible is not really always so. So don't think it is impossible. If you believe in it, you go ahead. That's what she said. I don't know, there are a lot of people waiting to talk. All I can say is that to continue with what Mr. Gopalakrishna Gandhi said, the song might have ended, but the melody will linger on forever as long as we live. And the only tribute which many of us can pay for her today is to rededicate ourselves to the cause of mental health. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. And it was not always psychiatrists who admired her. I would like to invite Mr. Mahadevan, more popularly known as Hot Brits Mahadevan, who runs 3 companies and South India's most famous restaurant owner and baker.
Good evening. She's been a physician, a psychiatrist, administrator, teacher, mentor, leader. In my life, she's been the force. I've not interacted with her like the earlier speakers. It's maybe 2 or 3 times she had called me to open a bakery. But this is a person who made such an impression in my life, who will not take no for answer. When Mr. Haribhaskar called me up in 2010 and 11, she said, IMH wanted a bakery, Ms. Mahadevan, and Mrs. Sarada Menon wants to reach you. You have to help them because it's a question of rehabilitating the people who've been admitted there. Please help her. And I was traveling, I was building my bakeries outside the country. She used to reach me and made sure that in a year's time, we opened it. And back again, the request came to me, it's about a year ago, when the quality of the bakery we have set up had come down. Again, the dean reached me because she said, if there is one man who can set it right, that's you, is what Dr. Sarada Menon says. She will not take a no as an answer. Mr. Mahadevan, can you help us? So I went in again, I set it right, and then we opened a cafe in August 19th, which was completely dedicated to Madam now, because she came and opened it. And that particular day is the feeling I have that she's been a force in my life. She caught my hand and said, what are you doing? I said, I've retired from my business. I'm just taking it easy. She said, business, yes, you can retire, but community service, do not retire. Help people is what she said. And that's the best tribute I can give it to her. Thank you, Dr. Tara, to express my gratitude to you and to Madam to serve the community the way she's been doing it till she was 99. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We will now move on to the third set of videos by Dr. Max Birchwood, clinical psychologist, the clinical director of the Youth Mental Health Services in the UK, Dr. K.A. Kumar, the former president of IPS, and Mr. Abbas. Mr. Abbas is the son of Ms. Namazi Biwi, who was a childhood schoolmate of Dr. Menon and has remained in close contact throughout her life. Can we have the videos, please?
Hello everyone, my name is Professor Max Birchwood. I'm Professor of Youth Mental Health at the University of Warwick in the UK, and I'm delighted to be able to pay tribute to and celebrate the life of and achievement of my good friend Dr. Sarada Menon. I've known Dr. Menon for nearly 30 years now and remember fondly my first meeting with her at SCARF in Chennai in, I think it was 1993. I was involved in the closure of a very large psychiatric hospital in Birmingham here in the UK, and trying to understand what community support services might look like. And Dr. Menon's extraordinary achievement in establishing SCARF and the support it provided for many disadvantaged people with schizophrenia in the community was an inspiration, and for me a real eye-opener, showing among many other things, the pivotal role families and community support and occupation and work play in the support of individuals with schizophrenia living in the community. And this was something which was not very well understood in the UK at the time. Since that time, I've enjoyed a very strong and fruitful bond with my friends and colleagues at SCARF in Chennai, culminating in the Warwick, India, Canada first episode psychosis, the WIC study, to try and understand the implementation of early intervention in psychosis in the Indian context. SCARF continues to be at the forefront of progressive practice and research in India, which I know Dr. Menon was immensely proud of. It was with enormous pride I was to be asked to give the first Dr. Menon lecture in Chennai, and to have an opportunity to show my admiration for her influence on our thinking, and indeed for the lasting legacy to Indian psychiatry, to rehabilitation and to community care. Dr. Menon is rightly revered by staff at SCARF and in Indian psychiatry in general. I'll remember her as a dedicated, innovative and inspiring figure whose legacy to SCARF, to Indian psychiatry and to many here in the UK will continue to be felt for many years to come. I will miss her enormously.
Words fail when we describe the contributions of Dr. Sarada Menon to the mental health care in India. Words also fail when we try to describe the inspiration and guidance which she extended to hundreds of mental health care workers. Thematically and emotionally, she has been the mother of mental health care in India. As far as I am concerned, she is one of the 3 persons I consider as my greatest teachers who have given me the greatest lessons. And incidentally, Dr. Sarada Menon was never a formal or functional teacher to me. She has never extended any academic lessons to me. But what I gathered from her personality, her personal conduct, my interactions with her, and my understanding about her work, and imbibed within myself, that has contributed immensely to what I call my self as a clinician and a mental health care worker. There are a number of endearing anecdotes, enriching experiences I can narrate, but this is not the time for all that. Physically, she has left us, but I am sure that she would transcend this physical end of her life, and in messages, in mission, in inspiration, she would continue to guide the mental health care workers in the country and to work together and bring a life of dignity for the mentally ill in the country. Thank you. Jai Bharat.
Good evening, dear family and friends of Dr. Sarada Menon. I am privileged to participate in the memorial to celebrate her life, referred by many as doctor, professor, or madam. To me, she was just plain Auntie Sarada, because that's exactly how my family and I regarded and looked up to this most accomplished lady. We, all of us here today, are fortunate to be connected with this lady, my family included. She was truly a soul sister to my mother. Namazi Bibi and Auntie Sharda shared a bond of sisterhood and friendship for 70 years. They met in the mid-30s as schoolmates in Good Shepherd Convent, where Auntie Sharda was a boarder till her senior Cambridge. She spent many weekend sleepovers with my mother in her father's house and related stories of their childhood together, at home, in school, at the tuck shop, and the classes. Auntie Sharda's regimented lifestyle was diametrically opposite to the spontaneous decisions that my mother would take in her life. Auntie Sharda was disciplined in her daily routine. From then on, she would eat at specific hours, sleep on time, etc. and etc. Yet their friendship was really the yin and yang personified. A most successful and sincere friend, Auntie Sharda was our go-to auntie for many dilemmas at each crossroads of our life. Her calm demeanor and positive analysis was the biggest strength in her. Any amount of awards and accolades do not measure up to the visionary that was Dr. Sarada Menon. Although we will miss her, we can remember her by attempting to emulate her values. That's the best way to celebrate the life of Dr. Sarada Menon, my Auntie Sarada. God bless her forever after, and God bless all of us. from a dear nephew, Syed Abbas Shirazi, who looked at her as family.
That was so beautiful to listen to. May I now request Dr. Vijay Nagaswamy, who was formerly working at SCARF and is more popularly a relationship consultant and psychotherapist practicing at Chennai.
Good evening. Before I came here today, I thought I had so much to say, but almost everybody has said almost everything that I have experienced of Madam. About a few months ago, I suddenly got a telephone call out of the blue saying Madam wanted to see me. So you don't say no to such summons. So I was there the next day. I think she'd quite forgotten that she'd asked to see me. But for about 45 minutes, we talked about a whole range of things. From mental health to my work, to health, to how she was doing. And at the end of that, when I went home, I felt totally uplifted. I hadn't seen her in a while. And I was so happy that she called me that day. And we could catch up. And I could remember all of the wonderful opportunities she gave all of us. All her qualities have been highlighted. Every one of them I agree completely with. But one quality that's not perhaps been mentioned is a quality that I've often associated with her, is grace. She was probably the most graceful person that I knew. And I remember at the World Association of Psychosocial Rehabilitation, at the WHO sessions, whenever Madam came in, everybody was silent. They looked at her, they listened to her, and they not just respected her, they had the greatest of affection for her. And I think that is what summarizes the quality of grace. To me, Madam was the epitome of grace, and I'm truly privileged to have had a few years working closely with her. We've spoken of her legacy. We've spoken of everything that she's done, all her contributions, her achievements. But to me, more than anything else, she was a legend even in her own lifetime. And today, with her legacy, I think her legend will never die. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now request Ms. Nisha Miller, a very close associate of Madam for several years, to come forward to speak to us.
Very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Nisha, Top Tea Garden, long-time patient of SCARF. So I knew Dr. Sarada Menon for more than 25 years. I first saw her in private hospital, where I remember thinking, another little old lady. I had met several of them in the preceding years, but she wasn't just any other little old lady. Later, she used to visit Bhavishya Bhavan, where I stayed for a number of years. I will tell you a funny anecdote from those days. My father, the late Mr. Harry Miller, who was chief of the photographic department of the Indian Express for nearly 40 years, and Dr. Sarada Menon were very good friends, and he was very fond of her. He relied on her help and advice to aid me in my difficulties. One day, they were inaugurating the upstairs flat there. All the patients were invited, including Dad, and unbeknownst to him, Dr. Sarada was invited as chief guest. My dad was a pretty well-known and important person himself, used over the years to being a chief guest himself. So there we all were, gathered upstairs where the ribbon was tied across the entrance to the newly opened flat. As the ceremonial scissors were being handed to Dr. Sarada, my father, mistakenly thinking that he was the chief guest, took the scissors and without further ado cut the ribbon. Dr. Sarada took it in very good spirits and was not at all put out. I now live in Ananagar with my two friends and fellow patients, Zarina and Jane, and I've lived there for more than 20 years. We live here, three of us independently, and we are very well and happy. She was very proud of us that we manage on our own. Zarina, my good friend my friend is good at handicrafts, and Madam sent her to learn patchwork from Mrs. Baliga. A few months before lockdown, she asked us to bring Zarina's patchwork and other craft works for her to see, which we did. She absolutely loved them and bought some of them, which she kept for her own living room, her patchwork cushion covers. She always wanted to encourage everyone in their craft work. She was strict but affectionate and cared for us deeply. She was mischievous and took everything in good spirit. She always encouraged us to do better and to learn more things. Her encouragement was very inspiring. She never treated us as patients, but always as equals, and she always had our welfare at heart. The last time she came to SCARF, someone took a picture of me, Zarina, and Doctor together. We are decades younger, but she looked the prettiest and youngest of all of us. She always used to come to the VTC and inquire about what we were doing there. After lockdown sometime, Doctor called me to inquire whether Zarina was doing her patchwork. She cared enough to call us personally and inquire about what we were doing. We felt close to her, though our family were far away. In mid-September, I called her to inquire as to how she was, feeling as I did during lockdown that she had no one to chat to. Madam was always busy usually, going to SCARF or meeting someone or running her clinic, but now lockdown was in force, and so I thought perhaps she was lonely. She asked to see me, so I went. She was delighted to see us and sat in a chair, perfectly hale and hearty, asking after everyone and suggesting things we could do to keep ourselves occupied. As we chatted, I noticed a fond and proud look as she looked at me, almost as if I were a beloved daughter who had achieved something of which she was very proud. That was the last time I saw her, and she won my heart with her fondness and love. I guess she knew that she would never see me again. I don't know whether the memory of that look hurt so much because I did not see her again, or whether it made me indescribably happy because at last I came to know of her love. I often thought of going to see her or ring her again, but thought there's plenty of time. She's going to live to be 100. Now I deeply regret this assumption. I would have loved to see her again, if only for that look. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nisha. I think Madam will be very proud of you wherever she is. And may I now request Ms. Bhargavi Devendra, the Honorary Secretary of Women's Indian Association and the Honorary Secretary of C.P. Ramasamy Foundation, to please come forward. Madam, would you like to use a hand mic?
Dr. Sarada Menon. Myself, as a student of social work from Stella Maris College, when we visited the mental hospital, she was so kind enough, and she has taken classes on mental health and also about the rehabilitation aspect of the mental patients who are on the recovery side. So from that day onwards, I had the fortune not to lose the contact with the doctor. And always whenever I had any doubt, and she used to guide us, and as the Secretary of Women's Indian Association as well as the C.P. Ramasamy Center, I would like to pay my respectful homage to the legendary doctor, and also for her soul to rest in peace. And we have celebrated and arranged a reception when Dr. Sarada Menon received the highest award from Government of India, Padma Bhushan. And also she has participated in our centenary celebrations, the 100th day, anniversary, and she has lit the first lamp because she is the first woman doctor who did her psychiatry in our country. See, like Dr. Muthulakshmi Reddy, she happened to be a guiding spirit and also a person who is eminent and who has done so much for the society. So, on behalf of our institution, I pay my respects and also pray Almighty for her soul to rest in peace, and wherever she is, to guide the scarf and the society and years to come. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Mr. Seshasai for giving me the opportunity to come and pay my respects. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam. May now request Dr. Purna Chandrika, Director of Institute of Mental Health, to come forward to speak to us.
Good evening to one and all. I'm in awe of all the people who talked in front of me. And when we first came in contact with her, when we joined as assistants, not taking much of your time, because there's so much to tell about Madam. We were wondering who's this frail old lady who's coming here and telling us what to do, because we were new to government service. We didn't know much about Madam. And then slowly and slowly when we came to know about her, and after I took over charge, any news item about Institute of Mental Health that comes up, we didn't have the time to go through. The first phone call will be from Madam. At 9 a.m. she'll call me and said, "Did you see the newspaper?" So as much as she valued SCARF, as much as it was a right eye or left eye, Institute of Mental Health continues to be here. And I'll let you in on a secret. Madam always wished that OG department should have the presence of a psychiatrist. I know whom she told, but she always kept telling me, "See, Purna Chandrika, whenever you go to the government, represent and make sure that and psychiatrist is posted in all the OG hospitals all over Tamil Nadu, because we have to give them the care that's needed." So the way she pushed me, I don't know how many of you read the papers. This year's Tamil Nadu government's program, there is an identification of perinatal depression. So, and a presence of a psychiatrist in all the hospitals all over Tamil Nadu. It is Madam's dream. And I called up Madam and told, "Madam, I've done that. It's what you have told." They all think that it's a very novel, this thing. No, it was Madam's dream. And she kept telling me every time she called me. So I think she was very happy, and as Mahadevan sir told, the Revive Cafe when we opened. So, and this is how she used to motivate us. She was a true mentor of sorts. So I hope if she was around, she would be guiding us more, because I'll miss her phone calls. And I wish next year, I don't know what novel idea to come about without Madam around, and hope she inspires me throughout. And that's her way of functioning. Her phone call and a smile. I'll always remember her. Madam, I'll miss you, ma'am. I'll miss you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Purna Chandrika. Yes, we all would definitely like to agree that IMH is very much in the news thanks to your dynamic leadership, ably guided by Madam. And we will move on to the next set of videos. We have videos from the Nawab of Arcot, the Prince of Arcot, Mrs. Vandana Gopikumar, the founder of Banyan, and Dr. Dinesh Bogra.
My salams to everybody. It's a good occasion for me to speak about Dr. Sarada Menon, whom I came to know through our old family friend, Miss Zubeda Azar Vidhala, in 1996. She requested me to permit SCAR have a fundraising event at my ancestral home, Amir Mahal, to which I gladly agreed. I found her to be a very dynamic person, a great leader who founded the reputed institution SCAR, and very devoted to care of persons with mentally ill. We have lost an icon, but she had ensured that the work she began will continue for long lasting. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Dr. Sarada Menon, of course, is and always remain an inspiration for all of us in the mental health or the development sectors. I remember several times that I've met her, but the one time that I didn't meet her, when she actually called and sort of congratulated me because I'd won an award, I thought the excitement that I could feel and hear in her voice, and the genuine sense of blessings that I felt that she sent my way, is basically her. So she didn't really care about whether it was Scarf or the Banyan, whether it was me or Dr. Tara, or she thought of everybody as her own. And I think that is the message that she leaves behind with us, that when we work in the mental health sector or try to bring about a change in the world, then we have to think of the vision and the cause as the only driving force, and leave everything else behind. So here's to all the amazing and visionary work that she was engaged in, the person that she was, the humility that she demonstrated, the friend that she was to thousands of persons with mental health issues, the several small organizations that she has inspired, and the millions who will continue to learn from the lessons that she leaves behind.
I first met Dr. Sarada Menon about 20 years ago at a conference in Chennai. It was truly wonderful to meet her because I had heard of her, but meeting her was a revelation. She was such a kind, generous, noble individual. I had the privilege of interviewing her for her forthcoming book, Conversations with Leaders in Psychiatry. During this interview, I learned more about her childhood, her family, how she went into medicine and then chose psychiatry. And what was really impressive is that throughout her career, she always thought outside the box. She set up various initiatives in the Institute of Mental Health in Chennai, bearing in mind the needs of patients, their families, and their carers. After retirement, when she set up Schizophrenia Research Foundation in Chennai, her main objective was to provide treatment and interventions for those who suffer from serious mental illness but are also underprivileged. And she succeeded in that remarkably well, to the extent that, as we all know, she was honored by the government of India. She had received many other honors but remained incredibly humble. One of the major lessons after establishment of SCARF, which is now flourishing both in clinical terms and in research, was her aim for success planning in order to make sure that her vision continued and people with serious mental illnesses continue to be served. Thank you, Dr. Menon, for being in our lives, for enriching our lives, for making the world a better place.
Moving on from the Professor of Mental Health from the King's College London, I would like to invite Professor Peter Fernandez, one of the senior most practicing psychiatrists in the city and one of the pillars of the Institute of Mental Health.
Chairman, Vice Chairman, friends, ladies and gentlemen. I thank Dr. Tara for giving me this opportunity to share the grief of parting from our dear madam, a very noble personality. My association with her is probably the longest one, spanning over 60 years. She and I had a difference of 10 years of age, studied in the same school, Good Shepherd Convent, had our training under European sisters, joined the same medical college, did the same specialty in medicine, general medicine, followed by diploma in psychiatric medicine, posted the same institution under her, followed her closely as her shadow to learn so many intricacies of the subject and her administrative diplomacies, and retired like her as Superintendent IMH. I recall that when I was posted to IMH after serving in the army, I deserved a better posting, but she met the then DMS and told her not to post me out because she wanted a young doctor, since all the other doctors were almost 50 years old. The then mental hospital was flooded with about 2,400 patients and a dozen medical officers, and you can imagine the burden of Madam as the administrator had a great responsibility. She did many things, many changes in getting the sanction of doctors, qualified social workers, psychologists, and other paramedical staff, and improved the quality of treatment for the patients. She gave the hospital a new look by starting the diploma and the postgraduate courses in psychiatry and raised it to the level of an institute. The concept of acute ward with relatives and the OP department was another innovative idea which helped in many ways. She was responsible to train the doctors and social workers to treat the patients with dignity and love that was lacking till then. After many years of hard work, working together as a team, she accomplished many things and brought down the number of patients to almost 1/3. She was responsible for starting the first rehabilitation center in the country, known as Industrial Therapy Center, in the year 1970, and was able to help many patients to return to their homes and be able to contribute to the families economically. She took personal interest in training the social workers to conduct the regular group activities and encourage temporary discharges. Her weekly rounds will be exhaustive and exhausting when so compensated with a tea break in the canteen. As a teacher, she was brilliant, and all the students enjoyed her simple explanations and anecdotes, and I was one of them. As a doctor, she was loved by her clients, was fondly called as Amma. As a person, she is very sincere, loving, caring, and humorous. She was a tough administrator, a taskmaster. To cite an example, she assigned a tough job of screening 400 TB patients with a mass mini X-ray unit since I had a diploma in tuberculosis. She was very happy to find that only 20 patients needed active treatment. She assigned the task of starting a rehabilitation center, and the first job was to make paper covers for pharmacies, which we tried but could not get orders, and she herself set an example by going to nearby pharmacies to secure orders. This motivated all of us to shed our inhibitions and work like her. She was a role model for all of us. She had given me a free hand for 20 years, and I developed ITC to what it is today, although many of the units have been closed down after my retirement. Even after retirement, she was visiting IMH either to teach her students in the clinical meetings or to inquire about her brainchild ITC. Even recently, she was responsible for inauguration of a stall for bakery food at the OP campus. She invited me to come along with her and visit this stall. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it. I can recall so many incidents where she asked me to help her in my personal capacity, where she faced difficult situations like warder strike, insubordination, etc. But due to want of time, I'm stopping here. I have a great admiration for her personality, since she's so loving and caring to everyone, whether he or she is big or small. I also admire her beautiful handwriting and her fantastic memory, even at this age. As mentioned earlier, every year I get a Christmas card or New Year card with her own hand. She never sends an official, personal thing. She had been in regular touch with me through WhatsApp or emails or phone, and so I miss her too much. But I will continue to be in touch with her through prayer for the repose of her soul. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now request Dr. Nambi, retired Professor of Psychiatry, Institute of Mental Health, to please come forward. We have heard several stories about Madam from Professor Nambi when we were his students in IMH, but we would definitely like to hear more from you, sir.
At the outset, I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity on the Memorial Day of Madam Sarada Menon. Of course, my association with her started from 1976 when I was a resident in psychiatry and then a diploma student and then as a MD student. But Madam was a great teacher, very good administrator. As I already heard from somebody, she's a taskmaster. She could be able to assess people about their capacity and assign duties according to that. She knows who can do what duty and leave the duty to them. So she is a classical taskmaster and person who can execute things from everyone. But I was 3-4 occasions I was closely associated. In 77, she called me and told before my retirement, this is going to be the last Christmas day for me this year. So somehow or other you have to make it a great event. As per her desire, I made it a very big event, a grand gala event with the help of some churches in Rayapeta. And till today, there is no better Christmas day than that 77 Christmas day when Madam was there. And again, in 1982, the 34th annual National Conference of the Psychiatry, Madam was the president of the organizing secretary, Dr. Somasundaram was the organizing secretary. The last minute, just 5-6 days prior to the conference, suddenly the chief guest, the Union Health Minister, says his inability to attend the conference. Madam said what to do, and somehow or other I requested Madam, can you give me 24 hours? I just flew to Delhi and with my contacts with the then State Minister for Agriculture, Mr. R.V. Swaminathan from Madurai, and the powerful MP from South District, K.T. Kosalram, and I could meet the Health Minister, insisted him, but he couldn't attend, but he directed me to contact immediately to the State Minister for Health, and immediately he drove to his house, and we fixed the date, and one Mr. Kalra, his name is Kalra, he was the State Minister for Health that time, and he is from Assam, and he attended as a chief guest for the 1982 conference, which was held in the Association of Surgeons building in Chennai. And again, I am very happy to say that Dr. Rajashekharan, the urologist, and he was the president of the chairman of the National Board of Examinations, and he requested me that somebody as unknown person has given some money to the National Board, DNB, Diploma in National Board Examination, which is conducted by the Government of India, equivalent to MD. There is a medal for a best student. Somebody has given a non-psychiatrist, an unknown person, whether you can do anything from your side. I said, please give me some 24-48 hours. I then discussed with Tara, and we mobilized. 50% Tara mobilized and 50% I mobilized, and we gave the corpus money and instituted Dr. Sarada Menon the gold medal for the best candidate for the DNB, and for the last 10 years somebody from best candidate through all over India, somebody is receiving the medal. So I am very happy about that. And Madam was very particular about, as many is told, periodically she used to ring up and find out what is happening, and she was very much helping when my wife Dr. Shanti Nambi was the director of the institute, guiding her, encouraging her, visiting almost every week, and that time only her activity of re-institutionalizing the patients, that is reunion of the patients with their families. She, with the help of one NGO, Shraddha, and with some social workers and with the hospital doctors, around more than 200 patients they could able to send to their homes, starting from even from Assam to Calcutta and various places. They could able to resettle the patients in with their homes. That's a great achievement. This has happened only 3-4 years back. So Madam is a relentless service. even at the mere chronological age, never a deterrent for her to do her mental health service. Till the end, she was with a smile and constantly doing some work. And last year and all, I went to her house for Onam Day and got her blessings, both of us. And she was, as age advances, she is becoming more glorious, and her smile became very much closer to us. And earlier, when she was a director or superintendent of the mental hospital, is very strict woman and very tough terror superintendent of the time, and we could not even talk to her in front of her. That was the time, but totally her thing is changed after her retirement. And I could say that in 1960s and 70s, 5 women psychiatrists dominated the entire Indian psychiatry. Dr. Sarada Menon from Madras, I mentioned old name, Dr. Sarada Menon from Madras, Dr. Ajita Chakravarti from Kolkata, Dr. Roshan Masters from Pune, Dr. Jaya Nagaraj from Voltaire, or now Visakhapatnam, and Dr. Padmashini from Tanjavur. These 5 ladies dominated the entire Indian psychiatry for nearly 2 decades. That's a very great thing. And again, as we know now, everybody talked about the legacy and other things. As Thirukural put it, Takkar Thagavilar என்பது அவரவர் எச்சத்தார் காணப்படும். One person's position in the society can be judged after their death by the achievement they have made in their lifetime. That's what we are doing today, and we are seeing today how much a great lady she is. And Sarada Menon is a Anaya Vilakku. That Jnana Oli will be there spreading around us every time, and that guiding light will lead us to further mental health care in our part. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We now move on to the last set of videos of the day, which will be from Dr. T.N. Srinivasan, who was formerly with SCARF and is currently Professor of Psychiatry in Australia, and his wife Lata Srinivasan, who was the first psychologist and one of the first employees of SCARF once the organization was formed, and Ms. Meera Mahalingam, who is the sister of one of the clients of Madam till she passed away a few years back, and Mr. B.S. Ravi, a distinguished IPS officer from the reputed Alladi family.
I'm T.N. Srinivasan, a psychiatrist from Australia. Dr. Sarada Menon is called Madam, not merely out of respect, but mostly out of the admiration, the love and affection we had for her and she had for us. She had influenced me a lot in several ways. The interesting thing was that I had never directly worked with her, but worked with a lot of people who have been working with her. So she was like a Kashi for me, in the sense that they say that you do not go to Kashi to get the blessings of the God and directions from him. It's good enough to visit people who have been to Kashi, and she has been one Kashi for me. Thank you, Madam, for being the guide and inspiration for all of us in your life, and you will continue to be so for the rest of our lives.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lata Srinivasan, and I work as a clinical psychologist in Australia. I'm most happy to be part of paying this tribute to Dr. Sarada Menon today. I have worked with Dr. Sarada Menon from 1982 to 2005 at the Schizophrenia Research Foundation. My whole journey of working with her was very, very inspirational. It was not just working as a psychologist, but also learning work ethics and also observing her interaction with clients and their families. I learned what is commitment, loyalty, punctuality, discipline, and most admiringly, her dress sense. I feel proud that I was part of the Schizophrenia Research Foundation and worked under her. She will continue to be my inspiration always.
Thank you to SCARF for giving me this opportunity. By way of introduction, I am Meera Mahalingam, sister of Sheila Mahalingam, who was a patient of Dr. Sarada Menon. I knew Dr. Menon for over 4 decades, and my relationship with her changed over the years. What initially began as a relationship between a patient's sibling and a doctor evolved into her becoming a close friend, advisor, and a second mother to me. Her relationship with Sheila and our family was so special and unique. Just to give you a brief insight, she never once forgot Sheila's birthday. Not only did she phone her up, but she made sure to take her out for lunch to her favorite restaurant every single year without fail. Words are inadequate in describing Dr. Menon. Adjectives like kind, caring, understanding don't even come close. Her holistic approach to the management of schizophrenia, a cause she was impassionate about, is something you're all well familiar with and something that I personally witnessed. We all know her as the founder of SCARF, a panacea for those afflicted with schizophrenia and other mental illnesses, which she established in 1984. For some of us, perhaps establishing something like this may have been enough, but not for Dr. Menon. After the establishment of SCARF, her efforts only doubled, and the institution continued to grow as she passed the reins into the very capable hands of Drs. Tara and Padmavati. While she had a vision of taking care of mentally ill at a global level, not for once did she lose track of her personal interaction with her patients. Till the very end, in her 90s, she ran an outpatient clinic at home. 4 years ago, we lost Sheila. I was devastated. Healing from her loss seemed ever so impossible for me. I wanted to do something to assuage my pain and grief, something for SCARF, which was Sheila's home for decades. In my many conversations with Dr. Menon regarding this issue, she said something that struck a chord, and here I paraphrase. You know, Meera, I've been thinking for several years now that these SCARF patients would benefit from physical exercise as part of their rehabilitation and daily routine. This led to the Sheila Mahalingam Yoga and Physical Activity Project in 2019, a function she herself inaugurated. On a not so somber note, most of you are perhaps not aware of her keen sense of humor. On one of my many visits to India, I was chatting with her excitedly about an impending trip to Kerala and an Ayurvedic retreat and getting a traditional Ayurvedic massage. And she said, in a quick twinkle in her eyes, she immediately told me, she said, Meera, be very careful. You know what happened last time I had an Ayurvedic massage? They put so much oil. I kept rolling round and round in the wooden table and could not get off, and ultimately fell and had a fracture. They say one truly dies when the last person who remembers you is no more. On behalf of the many patients and families of patients whose lives Dr. Menon impacted, she will live forever. I love you, Dr. Menon. Thank you for making my world a better place. And more importantly, thank you for letting me be part of yours.
Sarada Menon is a product of the Madras Medical College. After passing out of the college with honors, she took up psychology and very soon acquired a preeminent position. By the 60s, she was the unquestioned leader in psychiatry in the whole state. About this time, my family and her family were friends, and I was having a problem with respect to the career I should choose. I wanted to go to Cambridge and Oxford and do literature and poetry, whereas my parents wanted me to do the competitive exams. I consulted Sarada Menon. She said I could always do my literature and on without going to Cambridge and Oxford, but pursue the career in civil service, which is what I did. From that time onwards, I watched the evolution of Sarada Menon as one of the greatest psychiatrists in the country. In those days, there were no antidepressants, no cyclic antidepressants, no serotonin reuptake inhibitors, no tranquilizers. Sarada Menon only depended upon sedatives and her own skill as a psychoanalyst to treat her patients. Her treatment consisted of compassion and treating a patient with care and devotion. By the end of the century, she became the unquestioned leader of psychiatry in the country. People from all walks of life have come to her. She is the noblest person I have ever come across in my life. I have never seen her talk ill about anybody or run down any development or commenting on any political development in the country. She received the Padma Bhushan in recognition of her services. Considering her greatness, I think a Padma Bhushan is too small a recognition. Behind her, on top of the wall, is a plaque with the inscription which reads, I expect to pass through life but once. Any act of goodness I may do, any kindness I may show to a fellow human being, let me do it now and not defer it. For once past, I shall never come this way again. Sarada Menon lived that motto till the end of her life.
We will now move on to the last set of speakers for the day, and I would like to invite Dr. C. Ram Subramaniam from Madurai. Dr. CRS is the State Nodal Officer of the District Mental Health Program and a pioneer in community psychiatry. And with rehabilitation, he had a very close association with Madam. We would like to hear from you, sir.
Respected organizers, my gurus, teachers, friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for giving an opportunity. In fact, speaking about a legend, paying a tribute about a history, who was a turning point in the mental health field, it is really a Herculean task. But for want of time, for waiting a large number of speakers, I restrict my time within few minutes. I want to share some of my ideas. My association with Madam goes back some 40 years back. 40 years back, my acquaintance Madam, at that time as a caregiver, I used to meet her. My entire family was devastated emotionally, but she was an emotional support at that time. She gave me a lot of encouragement, a lot of courage, not only for me, for also for the entire family. That emotional support turned into an intellectual support. She played a different role in my life. In fact, she was my examiner, MD examiner. Fortunately, she gave me an MD Psychiatry. That is why I am here. Then she got me married to her husband's best friend daughter. And in fact, in a lighter vein, I used to tell Madam advices which made me what I am today. When I started my NGO at Madurai, she asked me to concentrate on 5 points. Create the awareness to the common public, which is totally lacking. Create a human resources. Create a treatment facility, both for affordable and non-affordable. Go to the community, start a community center, and also erase the stigma. So these 5 points still I am having. That is our mantra for launching our NGO in Madurai. My dear friends, till her last end, till before she had the fall, she used to call me, and she used to buy the products manufactured by the disabled population from Madurai, for which she used to pay. And also she had a special liking for the cookies. எப்போ பார்த்தாலும் எனக்கு என்ன வாங்கிட்டு வரே தெரியாது, குக்கீஸ் வாங்கிட்டு வந்துரு. கடைசியில் ஒரு 6,000 rupees பேக் எல்லாத்தையும் கொடுத்துட்டு போனேன். And also she is the one for the mental health professional. She knew the value of psychologists, social workers, and the community people. And today, I am remembering her advices. Don't talk about the community psychiatry inside the AC room. Come out of the AC room, go to the community, listen to their grievances, explain your psychiatry in their own language. Give them some relief, show them the live model. The psychiatry has become so simple. Still I am following. And again, she used to tell, For any successful outcome of psychiatry, you should know 4 R's. That is rescue, restoration, rehabilitation, and reintegration to the community. The 4 R, you will become a good psychiatrist, community psychiatrist. But for these 4 R's, you should have 3 important D's. That is dedication, devotion, and determination. Such a wonderful teacher. She is a phenomenal. And she is an era. She is a history. To sum up my feeling in few words, I want to quote only one poem. ஆடி வரும் தென்றல் நாடி வரும் பூமுடியே புகழ்முடியே உன்னை பாடி வரும் வண்டாக நான் இருப்பேன் உன்னை காக்க உன் புகழ் பாட என்னை துரைப்பேன் என்று கூறி இந்த விழா அமைப்பாளர்களுக்கு என்னுடைய நன்றியை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
Thank you very much, sir. SCARF was not the only NGO that Madam initiated. One of our pet organizations was ASHA, which was a support group for caregivers of and families of persons with schizophrenia. So we would like to invite Ms. Ratna Chibba, founder of ASHA, to talk to us about her association with Madam.
From schizophrenia, and there are medicines available. You need not worry, she told me. Things will happen. So I went back actually, and for the first time the family came to terms with his sickness. Before that we were just groping in the dark what's going on. After 1 month, again I went back to doctor and just broke down. She was wondering what happened. I said, doctor, I'm not able to keep him in the house because my family is very hostile towards him. So what should I do? She said, don't worry. She just wrote a note addressed to Dr. Shanta Kamath and sent me to SCARF. After going to SCARF, actually my whole life changed because I met so many families over there who were like me, and I felt, oh God, I used to think that I'm the only one who has got this problem. But when I saw so many families, it gave me so much relief. I felt, oh, I am not the only one, there are many like me. So a kind of healing came, I started healing myself and I felt very nice. So one day, Dr. Menon came to my house and I was wondering, oh, doctor has come to my house? I was thinking there's some mistake this help is saying. He says, no, the doctor only came. So I was thinking maybe my brother has done something or what has happened. So I went back to her. She said, no, see, it's like this, Ratna. I have decided to put you in the fundraising committee of SCARF. I said, doctor, I'm barely 3 months old. I don't know anybody. She said, no, I trust you and I feel that you will be able to do something. So that trust which she showed in me brought me really closer to her. Again coming back to SCARF, going to SCARF was a very unique experience for me. I became regular there and I used to go there, sit there among the families and talk to them. She used to see all that and then she told all the caregivers that see, in the treatment of mental illness, families play a very important part. So she said that you, all of you, start an association of your own. You become a voice which is strong. You can challenge the government, you can challenge the families. She should give us the reference of an organization called NAMI in USA. She said, see, that body is so strong that it challenges the government. So and they have offices in all the states. So ASHA was conceptualized in SCARF under the leadership of Dr. Menon with a team of Dr. That was she cried. It was very few of us. And so then what happened after a year or so, she said, now you people have become strong, you become independent, and now move out of Scar. So we went out from Scar, and then our bad times started. Because we had no experience, we had many challenges. Asha family. And she said, see, there are about 18 patients, PMIs, who are in Perambur, living in a home run by an individual. And she said, this is not nice. This should be taken care by the institution. So please, you go and take over that. And that was, they had come from Jeevan's clinic, which had closed down. So none of our members were actually very keen, because we had no experience of how to run a residential facility. So our president that time and our secretary and all these people were not at all in favor of that. So she immediately looked at me. She said, you live in Kilpauk and Perambur is very close. So please, you do that. She was very firm. I pleaded with her, doctor, I'm a single parent. I have a family to take care. I have a mother, I have a brother. And on top of all it, I have a business which I have to take care. So it's not possible for me. She said, no, you only have to do it. And then there's another member, Mr. Manuel, he lived near Perambur. He says, don't worry, I'll help you. And that is how we took over that residential facility and never looked back. It grew from strength to strength. Again, I say this, see, doctor always felt a lot about the families. She had feeling for them. She used to, in fact, when she used to see the patients, she used to get involved with all the family members and wanted to know where things are going wrong, who is doing what, and counsel. But I felt over a period of time, it is the families who were letting her down. And one of the example is my own, because my mother started saying that now your brother should get married. I told her that is not possible, Amma. She said, no, once he is married, things will be all right. I told her, don't say all that, you don't know. She said, no. Then I went back to doctor again. I told her, this, my mother is saying all these things. She says, bring her over. I took my mother there and she gave her, in her broken Hindi, she tried to explain to her, this is not good, don't do this. And all that she kept telling her, but Mama was adamant. So the marriage happened and it was a very big disaster. Within a year, it went off. So that is what I'm saying, that this is what I meant, you know. The families used to go to her, tell her their sob stories to her, get her help, but don't listen to her. So I felt that the families were somehow, somewhere, were letting her down. This year, in February, this year in 2021, that was my last meeting with her. She called me and she said her nephew has passed away and she loved him a lot and, you know, she wants to do something, you know, she wants to sponsor lunch to Mercy Home. So I said, doctor, no problem, I'll organize that. And then she gave a letter, I spoke to the sisters and the lunch was organized. Then I came back, I said, don't worry, doctor, the same time what you said, lunch will be served. She said, no, I don't want like this. I want a program to be conducted. I said, doctor, this is a COVID time. Even to me, they are not allowing me beyond the gate. She said, no, you refer my name. They will do it. So I went to my daughter, I said, I alone will not be able to manage. You please come and help me. So both of us did a small program, you know, where she had speakers. Then she wanted to serve the lunch herself. She did all that and felt very happy and kept thanking me. That was the last I saw of her. After that, I went to, couple of times, I went to her house because she stayed very close to my house. And I came to know that she was doing online consultations. I remember she used to tell me that I do not like to be idle. I like to be busy and I love my job. I remembered those words and I felt, oh my God, look at this age also, how busy is she. In the last, after that I spoke to her a couple of times and I was concerned about her health. She told me, if anything happens to me, you will be the first one to know. But sadly, for past 1 month, she laid on the bed and I had no clue about it, though I was staying very close to her house. I had absolutely no knowledge. It's only afterward that I came to know what all happened. I was inspired by her a lot about her life. In fact, my life was never the same after meeting her. And the last thing which I really learned from her, and everybody else should also learn, that age is only a number. Thank you.
Ratna, it was very, very heartening to listen to that story, because I think after Asha, SCARF has not been able to start one more family group like that. I think it was her steel heart which was responsible for that. And the association between SCARF and Asha continues till now, and several of our patients are being employed at Asha, and they have been supporting them so very well. And Ratna is being ably assisted by her daughter, beautiful daughter, sitting next to her. Yeah. And we will now have the last speaker for the day, Professor Subbaya, retired professor from National Institute of Technology, Trichy, and currently with the Rajalakshmi Engineering College here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have not seen Padma Bhushan Sarada Menon. I had not known about her. I came to Chennai only in 2007. I know only Shanta Kamath Madam, and then clinical coordinator Karpaguli Madam and SCARF. When I came to know about this foundation, I just thought, why it is called Schizophrenia Research Foundation? Why not Schizophrenia Treatment Foundation? I then realized, treating a schizophrenia patient, each one of them is a research. It's not treating a physical ailment. Okay, then as N. Ramsar said, Madam traveled a hard road. Now I realize, because she traveled a hard road, her patients could move over a soft road and lead a comfortable life. And then Seshasai sir said, she was an extraordinary person, led extraordinary life, had extraordinary traits, because she treated extraordinary patients, not normal patients, extraordinary patients in terms of ailment. And in the very beginning, the speaker said, we will not be able to carry out all that Padma Bhushan Madam had wanted to achieve. But I am sure, with all the motivation he has provided, the foundation, the organization will certainly be able to achieve what Madam wanted to achieve during her lifetime. When I think of Madam, I think of the favorite song of Mahatma Gandhi, Vaishnava Janato. Whatever is prescribed in that song applies to Madam as well. I'll just end with one Thirukural. Vaiyattu வாழ்வாங்கு வாழ்வான் வான் உரையும் தெய்வத்துள் வைக்கப்படும். One who lives a life, a very virtuous life, righteous life, he or she will be kept on par with gods in heaven. May her soul rest in peace.
Thank you so much, sir. That was very well said. Vayathul Varvange Varvar is a kural that is very apt for Madam. And as we come to the end of the day, I would just like to read out a part of a message from Mr. V.T. Somasundaram, who was the former president of the SCARF board. Even though Dr. Sarada Menon passed away at a ripe age of 98 and lived a full life, the loss is a loss which cannot be erased, and we will all continue to remember her for what she lived for and uphold her ideals and work for the welfare of the people who are affected by schizophrenia. I think that is the best tribute we can pay to Madam Dr. Sarada Menon, whose middle name was Rehabilitation. So that is how she would like to be remembered. And whatever we have once enjoyed, we can never lose, because all that we love deeply becomes a part of us. And that way, I think Madam is a part of everything and anything that we do in the field of mental health. And Madam is almost a moniker that will stay and refer only to her till psychiatry exists here. And she will continue to live in the hearts of so many people, so many lives, so many families that she has touched. She's a phenomenon we will never be able to see again in our lifetime, but we can definitely carry the torch and see how much we can work to fulfill her unfinished dreams. Because though she lived a full life, I don't think she felt all her work was complete. She still had a lot of passion to do more.
The Bhagavad-Gita is a handbook extraordinary of how life is to be lived. It is a celebration of life itself, and it is the revelation of immortal self, that is Brahman, which is within each one of us. Therefore, I would like to reflect upon the extraordinary life of Dr. Sarada Menon in the context of the Gita. The Gita says, you have the right to work, but never to the fruit of work. You should never engage in action for the sake of reward, nor should you long for inaction. Perform work in this world, Arjuna, as a man established within himself, without selfish attachments, and alike in success and defeat. For yoga is perfect evenness of mind. The Gita again says, when consciousness is unified, all vain anxiety is left behind. There is no cause for worry, whether things go well or ill. Therefore, devote yourself to the disciplines of yoga, for yoga is skill in action. Dr. Sarada Menon was a karma yogi, as her colleagues, students, and countless patients will attest. She displayed perfect evenness of mind throughout her life and career. She was the embodiment of skill in action. The Gita again famously says, whatever you do, make it an offering to me. The food you eat, the sacrifices you make, the help you give, even your suffering. In this way, you will be freed from the bondage of karma and from its results, both pleasant and painful. Then, firm in renunciation and yoga, with your heart free, you will come to me. Dr. Sarada Menon's 98 years lived on this earth was an offering to the Supreme Self. Her work, her help, her sacrifices, her suffering, and her happiness, melded in devotion to the Supreme Lord, has freed her from this mortal cycle of life and rebirth and united her with the Supreme Consciousness. Finally, Lord Krishna says in the Gita, that one I love is incapable of ill will, who is friendly and compassionate, living beyond the reach of I and mine, and of pleasure and pain, patient, contented, self-controlled, firm in faith, with all her heart and all her mind given to me. With such a one, I am in love. Dr. Sarada Menon fits this description by Lord Krishna to a T. She can be rightly described as perfectly established in Bhakti Yoga, and as such, a recipient of the Supreme Lord's unalloyed love. Having discarded her earthly body, she has been rescued from the fragment cycle of birth and death, and her consciousness has entered into the ultimate bliss. Dr. Sarada Menon has led a perfect life, and we must reflect upon, emulate, and celebrate this life she has led. Thank you.
That was a fitting tribute, sir. Thank you so much. And with this, today's event comes to a close. And I would like to thank the Secretary of the SGS Sabha for giving us this venue, Mr. Vasant Shanbag and Suresh Shanbag, and for all the staff of this place who have given us excellent support, both by providing the venue and for making the arrangements. And thanks is due to the Spark Communications team, which has put together the entire program for the day, including the live streaming of the event. Thank you so much for all the support and cooperation for getting this ready in such a short period. And it is my bound duty to thank Ms. Shruti Mohan. Can you please stand up, Shruti? She is the only person who remained absolutely calm and unruffled at SCARF and put the whole thing together with the team at Spark. Thank you so much for doing what you did. I'm sure Madam will be very proud of you. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here so patiently till the end of the event. I think without you, this event would not have been a success. And I would like to place on record my thanks to the press, which has been very supportive to all our endeavors, and looking forward to meet again under probably better circumstances in another event at SCARF. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
And finally, to this wonderful colleague of mine, Dr. Mangala, who, as you know, has done an excellent job of putting. Thank you. Thank you very much.